Alright, so I just colored this purple to show that that's what we already cut out.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so now we'll know where to start from. So the last one, it would cut here in that step, cut here in as a step, here in as a step, here in as a step, and then here in as a step. So the next one we want to start with this line here, because essentially we're going to have this line step in here, and then the next line step in, and so on. So I think we'll do 5 steps on this one again. What do you think?
That sounds like a good idea.
This part we'll definitely have to do. We can do less.
Yeah, we do probably 3.
This whole thing maybe we'll try to do. We'll see how long it takes.
Yeah.
But anyway. So, what we do now. Make sure what plane this is.
Wait, hold on. Can you do that again?
Hide the sketch.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry. I thought you did something else. Okay, we're good.
Wait, can you hide it? Alright, so to start off, so we know where we're going to start from using this sketch.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a new plane. Actually, I should have a plane already. I don't have a plane there. I should.
It's the one you referenced. Yes.
What? Is it on? Yeah, but the internet's
So that plane is on the sketch here that we're going to use for first. So I'm going to use that as my reference one and create more planes. So since we're going to do 5 steps again, I'm going to first flip this so it's going the right way. And then let's say 5 planes. And since we're 2 inches thick on the foam, I'm going to go, essentially I should just do 2 divided by 5. So you do 2 divided by however many planes you have. So that'll split them up evenly. Click OK. So now I just created the 5 planes that I need
to make that foam block.
Splits. Yeah. So this first one should be, yeah, okay. So that's awful. So what you do now, I like to do this. I have all my planes here. They're all showing. I immediately go right to curves, split line. And since that plane's selected, I go to the surfaces where it's at. It'll show you the yellow line of where it's splitting it. Split that, hit the OK. So now that's split the line. Then you come up here to your sketch tab, convert entities. For whatever reason, I have to click this first, just X out, and click it again to convert entities. Go here and select just the line that I just made, the split lines, all the way around here. Click the check mark and then exit out of the sketch. So essentially now I've just made a sketch that pertained to that plane around this body, and then you repeat. So once I did that first one, I like to hide that plane so that I know I already did that one, and I go to the next one and continue and continue. So you can probably stop the video.
Do you want to show how to put it into DXF form?
I will. Alright, so now we got our 5 sketches for the next portion. So from here to here is another 2 inches. So essentially we're going to start here, and it's going to plane to here, and then it's going to come here, plane to here, plane to here, plane to here, plane to here. That's going to be our steps. So it should be 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, and then cut off. Alright, so essentially we won't be using this, but that line represents the bottom of the foam. So, and this one's the top of the foam. So now, in order to plane it using the tooling software for the routing table, we have to come in and figure out where we want to offset planes. So we're coming here, so we know we're going to cut here to here. Right? here to here, and that's going to be planed. So we're going to want to offset on this side of this sketch just a little bit. So I'm going to come back here, going to hide this plane. So I want this plane. I'm going to go reference geometry, I'm going to make another plane. Now I'm just going to do one plane, but I'm going to offset it 0.05 inches. Okay, so it should be very close to here.
This is on the second one in, so that it planes.
So this is the top. This line right here, highlighted in orange, represents the top of the foam. This one represents the bottom of the foam. So when we go into the routing table, we're going to say, all right, you're going to look at this profile. You're going to cut down to here and plane to here. It's essentially going to plane. It's hard to draw, but this area from here, from the top, this dot to this, essentially would be a dot here. It's going to be planed. It's just going to be a step from there. All right. So then it's going to be this one, and we're going to step it down to this one. So I'm going to go to that plane, which is here. I'll make another reference plane. Again, it's already set up 0.05 inches to here. Click that one, so another one here. Again, I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to find that plane.
Yeah, we should stop here and then we could just do them so you don't have to explain it. Okay.
Good.
Yep, we're ready.
All right. So now that we have all these offsetted planes, the blue lines, one thing to be careful with is this top one doesn't need an offset, as well as the bottom doesn't need an offset because you're cutting to that. So if you want to look at it this way, you're going to cut from this line to this line. You're going to plane. That's going to be the same depth, this blue line. And then you're going to start this one, cut down to this blue line, and plane. This one to that one, this one to that one, and then finally you're going to have this one to the bottom of the film. So now we need to make, just like we did before, the same procedure, but for each one of these planes, we're going to have to now come in here, and again make split lines.
And then convert entities
convert them, yes,
to sketches.
To sketches once again.
Cool. All right. Okay, we're doing it.
Mini pictures. All right. Okay, so now we have all of our split line converted sketches ready to export. So first thing we're gonna do, gonna open up a new part file. One thing, very important. Make sure that it is in inches. Okay? Here, inches. Make sure it's in inches. As well as make sure this is also in inches. It just works out better for AutoCAD
the foam block that we have.
Well, that and it reads in inches on the routing computer program. So, alright, what we do. First thing is we need to get this sketch. So we gotta go here. I'm not sure where it is. We're gonna find it.
It's down more.
So,
Where is it?
oh, it's up further. It should be this one. Okay, here. Simply click it. Control C, whatever you have to do to copy it. Go to your new part file. You don't have to go anywhere or do anything. Control V. Paste that sketch into that file. Alright. Then you go back to here. You get your next sketch. Honestly, you can do it in any order. Just make sure that you have all of these sketches. So we want the next one, which should be down here somewhere. It's going to be here. Copy part. Just paste it. Don't do anything. It'll automatically space it as what it was in the previous. Right. So we're just going to keep doing that. So we can stop the video.
We are playing.
Okay. So now that we copied all the sketches
Here, zoom in so you can see that we got all the...
from this file, we wanted all these sketches into a new part file. So we copied and pasted them into here. Alright. So as you can see, it gives you the depth when you copy and paste. I don't know why it's disappearing when I'm zooming now. Anyway, alright, so this is where we're going to send it, or save it as a DXF file. First thing, is very important, is you want to go normal to the front plane. So you want to have your sketches all outlined like so. Alright? And you want to make sure that these are also gapped enough. They can be very close, but as long as there's a gap, we're good, which there should be from offsetting the planes. But now, what I want to do, anyway, first I'm going to save it in a folder I specifically made DXF files for, nose cone, tip of nose cone. So I made tip 1, which was the very beginning, so I'm going to save this one as tip 02, so I know it's the next part. And I'm saving this as just a regular part file in case I need to come back and edit it, that way I can. If it's a DXF file, you won't be able to come back and edit this anyway. So after I save that as part file, I come in, save as, same folder, but instead of a part file, I'm going to click here and save it as a DXF file. Alright, same name, it's fine. Save it. Now, it hasn't saved yet, so it's coming into here and asks what face you want. This is why it's very important to have it normal to on the face. I'll show you in a second. So, if I hadn't had it normal, and I had it slightly tilted like this, and I want to save it as DXF, you come over here and you click this OK. That's what it's going to save it as a DXF as. We don't want that. It's not what we want. So cancel this. So that's why we go normal to the front plane so that we get it all evenly spaced. So we do that, click the check mark, okay. This is a preview of what the sketch is going to look like. That's what we want. We're going to click save, and now we saved our DXF file. So if we successfully save these as a DXF file.
We shall be going.
Alright, so now after we save the DXFs, well, now that we save the sketches in SolidWorks into the DXF file, we have to take it into AutoCAD. So open up AutoCAD, and then open up your DXF file that you had saved from SolidWorks in AutoCAD. So first off, if it gives you this student edition shit, delete it. Stuff, delete it. Alright, so now you have your sketches in AutoCAD. So, very simple. All we have to do is go to this explode tool here, highlight everything, hit enter. I like to do it a few times just to make sure I got it all. And
you are pretty overkill.
that is it. You do that, save it again as the same name. Don't save it as a DWG. You want to save it again as a DXF file. So it should just overwrite, and yes, you want to replace it. That's it. Now it's ready for the routing software. Alright?
Yep.
Alright. So here's just a helpful tip for cutting out the foam and to make sure that the sizing is right here and then in the routing software. So when I have all the DXFs, I have to go normal to it as normal. And I do the Smart Dimension tool, and I go to the outer points here, just to get a rough measurement. So that's 11 inches that way, and this way is 7.15. So now you know when you're cutting the foam, obviously you want to go, probably, I like to go about an inch or so, 2 inches more than this on each side. So that knows, then you know how much foam to cut, so you don't waste too much, but then you're also not too small, and then you also know in the routing software that it's the correct size and you're not going to end up cutting something that's huge. That's the issue you have if, say, you save this in millimeters. If you saved it in millimeters, this is going to be, you know, these numbers are going to go from 11 to 282. If you save this in millimeters and take it to the routing software table, it's going to assume that this is 282 inches. So this is going to be way too big than what it should be. That's why you make it in inches. So, but now you know your dimensions roughly. And it's also good to have this out for when you're cutting it to make sure that you're cutting it to the proper dimensions when you set it up in the software. It's just a helpful tip.
Cool.
Yeah.
Going.
Alright, so now we're on the routing table computer. So I put my flash drive in, and then I created a folder on the desktop. Nose cone, and then since we're going to have a nose cone, the tip, and then we're going to have the body portion, I made 2 folders just to make it easier. So I just simply take our DXF file that's on my flash drive that we just saved and made, and I just put it onto this folder onto the desktop. That way I can take that out and I won't lose my flash drive here, and it's on the computer to use whenever. So that's it. Good?
Get rolling.
So now, to get on the routing table, we go on the desktop. There's an icon toolpath for Windows. Double click that. Open that. You're going to want to open the DXF that you just made. In this case, it's Temple 2. Open that. That says offline. The machine's not plugged in right now. It should be plugged in. It shouldn't say anything there. But it's not going to matter right now. So first things first, you'll import your DXF. It should look like something like this, depending on what you're doing. First thing you want to look at is if all the lines are red or blue. This one will be white because it's selected, so you can just click on another line to reveal that line. If it's green, that means there's an opening or something's not right with your sketch. You have to go back. Maybe you didn't explode it in AutoCAD or whatever. But if they're red and blue, you should be good to go. Alright. First step is to go to analysis, make sure these are all 0. Okay. Only standard right
Okay.
here. Alright. After that, you want to go to groups. Now this is where we're going to group everything, obviously. So first you go move to group. We're going to click the innermost and then the next innermost. So there's going to be 2 things selected. Say to group. This group will say white. Click white. Do it again, move group. Now select the next 2 outermost sketches in to group. Now we'll change it to blue. And then you should see the different group colors, and they should go outwards. So we just keep doing that.
And we'll show them that. We don't have to show them that. Okay.
Okay, so once you have all your groups selected, it should look something similar to this.
Well, my blurriness is... Okay, we're okay.
Okay. So yeah, your grouping should look something similar to this with multiple colors. The reason we have 2 lines per group is for the 2D engraving, which I'll show you in a second. So once you have all these groups colored and grouped, go back to main menu.
Way on the main.
Well, it's not here anymore. That was
Yeah. Okay.
Now you go back to home screen. You'll notice all the colors disappeared. That's fine. They're still grouped. So the next thing you want to do is then go to Special. Click Special. Now you'll see the group colors again. We're going to go to Engrave 2D. Here we're going to set the bit radius. In this case, it's already set. It's 1/8 of an inch. Apply to.
Apply to.
I like to do each individually, so I'll first apply to white, click OK, and you should see yellow lines to where it's actually going to essentially plane out that section. So you click OK, or click Enter up here, and then repeat for each group.
You enters up here though, up on this.
Yeah, I'll show you. So I selected the blue now. Okay, it shows you the little yellow, and then you have the Enter button right here. Click that, and then just keep repeating for each color. next. Okay.
And then we could do that for the rest of them. We're rolling.
Alright, so after you have the 2D engraved on, you're going to come back to the main menu, and you're going to go to Output. Now, this is very important here. When you do the 2D engrave, you don't have to compensate. You leave the compensation at none. If you aren't engraving, you're just cutting lines, then you'll have to compensate depending on what you want your outcome to be for just a regular line.
And you compensate for the radius of the bit, right?
Yes.
And wait, is it the diameter of the bit or radius of the bit?
Radius.
Okay.
So the machining path is forward. The depth here is the total depth that you want to set it for. So usually, now there's 5 steps here, so we're going to want the total depth of your white section to be 2/5 inches. So 0.4 depth for this one. Then your next step down is going to be 0.8. This one's going to be
0.12.
1.2. This one's going to be 0.6. And then finally, this one is going to be 2 inches. You should always end with 2 inches on your last one. That's cutting all the way through the front. Now, the 0.4 you can maybe get away with a single pass, but any of these other ones, you definitely want to have a multi-pass. So what we do here is come down the multi-pass, and you click on it, you take the status, you want it on. So here you have your total depth of your cut, and this is, each pass is going to cut a certain amount off. So I'll just do 0.2 because it'll still make 2 passes to cut through this. So once you have all that laid out, you click OK, and you go to the next one and do that as well. So this one will take a little bit more. 1/4 inch. We can do 0.3. It'll take 1 less cut. And then here, this one I'll go 0.4 on this one. Why not? So, but I wouldn't go more than 0.4 for a cut.
Because then the foam melts.
Well, and you also have to account for the actual cutting area on the bit. Other than that, this is ready to go. Once you have all this, click Save Ready File. You should save it in the same folder as where you have your DXF file. It will save as a ready file. Click Save, and then to send it to the machine, you'll click Send. It'll give you a preview of what you're cutting. Right now I don't have the 2D engrave on, that's why it's going to look a little different here. And then you click Transmit, and it will send it to the machine. Right. Alright, so for this case, since the gaps in between each sketch are so close that when we do the engraving, it doesn't like it. We'll just leave it at that, it doesn't like it. So what we can do now is just not engrave and simply run the bit following each sketch, including this inside one. So first things first, there is a reason why when you're at the main menu and you first open up the file, each line is red or blue. Essentially, if the line is red, when you output to cut on the red, to cut whatever group this line happens to be on, say it's a white. When you go to compensate it, if you want the entire inside to be exactly as it's shown here, you need to offset the bit. Otherwise, see, the center of the bit will follow this line exactly if it's not compensated. So you either want to compensate it negative or positive. So you either have the cut, the bit will either cut inside here completely or on the outside completely. Now for our case, we want this shape to be exact. So if you want this to be exact, if it's a red line, you need to provide a negative compensation using the radius of the bit. So for this line, we would want a negative compensation. Now, if it's a blue line, it's the opposite. You want a positive compensation. So again, if you want the exact size shape that's inside here, if it's a red line, you need a negative compensation. If it's a blue line, you want a positive compensation.
Okay. Is that good?